we do deal with the level of sickness in our society. There's certain things that have not contributed to us being in our natural state. My life was, on one hand, very successful, and then there was also this void that I felt. But then I heard these tones out of the singing bowls and the gong, and that felt like it. Using these psychedelics as a way of essentially treating ourselves to remember what we're actually made of and what's actually important. It is something that feels revolutionary. It is something that a lot of people still don't understand, and yet my experience of it has been extremely helpful in a way that nothing else helped me to get to.
What's a question that you haven't been asked yet, but you'd like to answer?
What does it actually feel like to play the gong?
Well, please indulge. I have dismantled my life in order to honor my calling. Those are the words my guest today, Quddus Philippe, spoke the first time I truly experienced him and his work in a ceremony not too long before this recording. I felt the weight of that statement, and it was the main catalyst for me to invite him to Spirit Unfolding. Quddus first achieved mainstream success as a host for MTV's Total Request Live, and later as a creative director at MySpace, before Time magazine named him one of pop culture's foremost tastemakers. But a painful divorce and deeper reckoning with success brought him into the world of sound meditation and psychedelic-assisted healing, which eventually brought him back to himself. Today he guides others through these immersive sound journeys designed to reconnect people with their inner truth. And I have to say, this man is the real deal. Since recording this episode, I've actually had the chance to experience one of his psychedelic-assisted sound journeys, and I can safely say that it's guided me to make some beautiful and life-changing decisions. And so I'm delighted to share my deep yet light-hearted conversation with Quddus on sound, psychedelics, creativity, and what it takes to honor your calling.
Quddus, I'm honored to have you, man.
Such an honor to be here, Lars. Yeah, really excited to be in this spirit unfolding environment with you.
Yeah, man. You brought this beautiful drum. I feel like before we dive deep into conversation, maybe you can share a bit with us, that feeling, that sound that the drum brings, and that your new passion
absolutely
brings forth.
Yeah, this is actually a water buffalo drum that my partner made with her own bare hands. And so always very meaningful to be able to play it with her in mind and heart.
Beautiful. We've landed.
Nothing like a water buffalo drum to help you land, that's for sure. What a blessing, you know. Sound.
How did you move from, let's say, the world that you've been immersed in for such a long time to an instrument like this, and a different way of relating to sound, perhaps?
The short answer is getting my ass kicked by life and realizing in a sound journey just how many parts of myself I needed to bring back to the table. And it was something about listening at that level to these types of instruments that really did wake things back up and help me put myself back together. After going through a very hard time, which eventuated in divorce and dismantling the entirety of my life. And sound was the thing that was the bridge that helped me move from that to this moment with a knowing. It was this tuning fork the whole time that I could come back to and be ever more attuned to my truth and my navigation system through that uncertainty. It's nothing quite like dismantling one's life to really test what you're made of, what I'm made of. And ultimately, what I'm made of, what we're made of, is the same thing that lives in the harmonic series, which is when this practice gets really profound. When you look at a cymatic study and you see the impact of sound on matter, and you consider especially the cymatic studies that we've seen that involve water, and we think about 70 to 80% of us being water. And if we're looking at the coherence that comes and pattern that comes in water based on a sound, and then we think about being in a sound journey and what that means for the coherence that's happening in our system because of that sound, that means we're able to get to a level of harmony within ourselves because our system hears that harmonic series externally and responds. So no wonder I come out of a sound journey realizing what I need to do in my life. And that's what happened.
Wow. Beautiful. Yeah. It's way more than just a feeling. It's actually a physical thing, very, very much as well. Yeah.
It's science, actually.
Yeah. So can you take us back to, you felt like you had to do something different, right? Every time. So what did your life look like before, and what was what was the thing that you, let's say, needed to change?
Well, my life was, on one hand, very successful because I was living a part of my dream. I was definitely doing some of the work that I was meant to do on the planet. And it was in New York City with a luxury condo that I was living in and all these different things that we think are the thing. And so it was fun. Some of it was really great. And then there was also this void that I felt. And I couldn't quite put my finger on what would fill the void, but I knew there was a void. I knew there was a lack of fulfillment that I had to reckon with, but I didn't quite have a map to it. But then I heard these tones out of the singing bowls and the gong, and that felt like it. And so I just knew that I needed more of that and less of showing up on television talking about things that really didn't matter at the end of the day.
Why is it like they didn't matter? Because it was like, do you feel like it wasn't fully authentic, or what was, because it was, like you said, it was also things that you do care about, or you...
Some of it was very disposable though. Like the actual impact on people is not something that I could actually feel particularly satisfied with.
Right.
And so short of really understanding what the impact was, there was this void of feeling like the effort that would put into any given show would actually translate into the impact that I felt would be leaving the world better than I found it. I'm the type of guy that likes results that I can feel.
Yeah.
And so sometimes television could translate into that. And so on the high end, I would sometimes have a fan come up to me and tell me exactly what something meant to them. And then a dot would connect around why sometimes the programming I was a part of mattered. A lot of times it just felt like it was candy. You know, it was ultimately a distraction from people actually doing the real work that I see now in these spaces that I facilitate.
Do you feel like that's also because a lot of this, let's say, when we talk about like artists and celebrities, and it's like we're actually focusing our energy on someone else, and yet it can be a mirror. But for a lot of people, I think that part can be unconscious as well, where it's like you're actually, so what you're talking to an artist, but and then there's like, let's say, I don't know, 1 million people watching at some point, probably a lot more. I know the show was very popular. A lot of those people will root for those artists, but wouldn't translate it into change in their own lives. Whereas now, when you deal with people, you actually have impacts on their actual lives.
Yeah, it's a completely different orientation. I think if you're watching someone else sharing about their dream being realized, maybe you can see yourself in their story, and then you would then feel empowered to go and live your dream. That does happen. And
of course, that's why we're here.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think media and storytelling is incredibly impactful. And then there comes a point where we got to go deeper. We got to really do that psychic and soul surgery on ourselves that only we can do to really weave that very unique dharma within ourselves that might have been sparked by someone else living out their dharma, but ultimately you can't map your dharma to someone else's. Right. You got to find your own. And so for me, being in sound and psychedelics, I will name, give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
To the great magic mushroom, ayahuasca, MDMA. Those are the things that help me the most, actually, to hear my truth, because there was a lot of distraction. And it's very sexy sometimes. There's a lot of dopamine involved in these distractions. And yet, when we get still enough, when we can really tune into what the ancient Greeks talked about as our gnosis, the embodied wisdom, which tends to only be decipherable in a certain kind of condition. So creating the conditions for that kind of relationship with our own inner wisdom is even more fulfilling. And I don't mean to make my world in television and music industry wrong. It's just one of those things that we're on a spectrum at all times. And I wasn't ready for the deep end of the pool.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I think most of us need some time to get there. Right?
yeah, totally. Till we cannonball into the deep end of the pool. Woo!
Yeah. Talking about we said like psychedelics, that, how is it to be in that experience for you? What happens there?
Well, it's a nonlinear state. It takes us off the default mode, as they say. I love Michael Pollan's metaphor about how essentially psychedelics help us go from skiing down the mountain of our mind with the same pattern, the same slope, essentially, right? So imagining a ski mountain, right? The exact same tracks, the neural pathways that are so practiced and so patterned is the default. That's how we usually orient to life. And psychedelics help us to essentially have a fresh coat of snow to work with, and then we can actually ski down the mountain in whatever way we feel inspired to. Because we are creatures of habit, and that works within our own neural pathways as well. And so I definitely found a new way of thinking as a result of working with these tools, these medicines. I do like naming them as medicines because we do deal with the level of sickness in our society. There's certain things that we can definitely name that have not contributed to us being in our natural state, our optimized state. And so, using these psychedelics is a way of essentially treating ourselves to remember what we're actually made of and what's actually important.
Yeah. Yeah, man. A little earlier you said, I took apart my life. In order to fully honor your calling, it sounds very powerful, and also very, I would say scary. I suppose there can be a lot of things that come up in that process. Yet here you are.
In one piece.
In one piece. And radiant and grounded. So obviously it's done you very well, I think. From my perspective.
I mean, it definitely was bumpy along the way, but I'm here now for sure. I'm grateful. I mean, yeah, like looking back at the journey is one thing. Being in the journey can feel very, very challenging. It can feel like you're crazy. Like people definitely looked at me at certain points in my journey, especially when I was going through my shamanic initiation, and people did not understand what I was experiencing. It is a non-linear path, and I don't expect anybody to know. And so definitely was challenging. Hit some definite corners, there's some edges along the way, but I'm grateful. I'm grateful now.
Was it, was it difficult to feel like people that are maybe close to you had to have a different outlook on life? What did that do to you?
Ultimately, it fortified my path, because every time someone was challenging the choices I was making, I got to check in. I got to really check in and ask myself, is this actually the path I'm going down? And why is it the path that I'm going down? And having to externally process with the people in my life around it did ultimately fortify that this is exactly what I'm meant to be doing. And short of having those challenges along the way, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to actually fight for what I'm standing for. And I do think that contrast in life, conflict in life, can be incredibly helpful. It can really wield something that wouldn't have been wielded quite the same way. I picked up different ways of being, so it's like, if somebody tries to break into your house and you got to get a bat in order to feel like you got something for that moment, there's something else in your toolkit. And that's how I felt. So along the way, I was picking up these energies, this willingness to fight for what it is that I've experienced ultimately, especially given that I work with psychedelics and that it is illegal in some places, and it is something that feels revolutionary. It is something that a lot of people still don't understand, and yet my experience of it has been extremely helpful in a way that nothing else helped me to get to. And so damn right I'm going to fight for what I've experienced, because the alternative is putting it to the side, diminishing the significance of it, and in the end of my life looking back and wondering whether I really fought for the right things in my life. That's really the moment I think about a lot, and just reverse engineering from that last moment where I can actually look back at my life and have peace about what I spent my time investing in.
I love that.
Yeah. It's important, right? That we feel ultimately like our life was dedicated to the thing that ultimately helped us the most. I really feel like that's my understanding of Dharma now. A lot of people talk about Dharma as a lot of different things, moral and right living. And so if you look at like, what is right living, like living in right relationship with ourselves, living in right relationship with people in our lives. And I really feel like the Dharma for me really got clear when I thought about the right relationship with the things that have impacted me the most. So if I'm in right relationship with that, I'm turning around and asking myself, how can I take these tools and help others with it? Otherwise, I'm out of integrity, actually.
Yeah.
I'm going off and selling you something on TV when I know damn well what actually impacted me at a soul level. I'm not confused anymore. It took a while though to wean off of that, because it was a lot of really incredible financial security, fame, all that stuff. But I'm not confused.
What is the reality of fame in a sense?
The reality of fame is you get a lot of access to a lot of the things that we think are going to be fulfilling. I think when I first saw the Grammy Awards, I thought surely being at an after party for the Grammy Awards would feel like the pinnacle. And then you actually hang out at that party. You know, people drinking, smoking, schmoozing. That's the reality of it. And once in a while, you'll have a connection with someone that's really meaningful, and that'll end up being a real friendship, and it's not so transactional. Those moments are very rare.
Wow.
And now in ceremony, when I facilitate with sound, psychedelics, and we share after, I look around and I feel meaningfully connected to everybody in the room. We actually put the thing that matters the most to our lives on the altar for all of us to huddle around and get behind. That's the frequency I want to be around, not this sort of, hey, let's have lunch next week.
Yeah. It's one of the things that I really noticed in our trip to Egypt. We were there with about 35 people, and I saw you genuinely connecting with anyone and everyone, and just really being present and really appreciating them for them. Just a quality that I really want to give credit to, because there's a lot of people that I think are striving for that, or maybe or are a little bit in less integrity, but I really see it with you that it's a beautiful quality to have, man.
Thanks, appreciate it. It definitely hasn't always been that way. I think there's been moments where the environment that I was in was what I became. That's when I hit rock bottom, spiritually speaking, when I was coming home from these Hollywood parties and couldn't even recognize myself, had all sorts of interactions with people where I wasn't really honoring the soul in front of me. And so that's where I started to really question the choices I'd made and started to bit by bit steer the ship a different way. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I've had that contrasting experience, because then it makes me ever more vigilant, actually, and more rigorous with any given moment, because I do know what it feels like to be in a shallow kind of interaction where I'm not really listening, I'm not really invested, and that's not how I want to feel. So selfishly, actually, it feels better to be in a conversation where I'm really contributing, really listening, really caring. It's just a better feeling.
Yeah, of course. And I also think that if you're actually truly connected and speaking from, expressing from who you truly are, you're actually doing the other person a way bigger service than going maybe a bit out of integrity to, give them the idea that it is an amazing, whatever it is that they're doing, even though you feel like, hey, actually, or whatever it is, maybe if you're going away from yourself, you're actually holding yourself back from being that clear mirror and giving that reflection and an insight to the other person. That might actually be the thing that they might not want, but they need.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. To me, that's the greatest contribution, when you can step out of the cycle of people pleasing and placating expectation and niceties, and you can go deeper and say an uncomfortable thing that might be what that person needs the most. Requires a check-in. Requires say, hey, can I go deeper with you on this?
Right. Yeah.
Are you open to reflection on this that might be uncomfortable?
Yeah, instead of just going, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but that really has been, when I talk about tools that have made a biggest difference in my life, it's been the moments where people were willing to say the uncomfortable thing. I remember when my shaman who trained me was in the invitation of me into this training that he had, he was very confronting with me about it, because he noticed how my mind was looking at all the numbers and scheduling and all this stuff. And he asked me, are you in your head about this? I had to drop what I was thinking about and acknowledge that I was entirely in my head. And then he requested that I actually tune into my heart and asked again, do you want to be in this shamanic training?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yes. And he said, okay, well, can you figure out the other stuff? And I said, yes. So, those are the moments. Those are the moments that end up really defining a relationship, where you can really stop with the automaticity, the default settings, and really get in with each other and make that difference. Yeah, so I'm super grateful he made a point of having the uncomfortable moment with me.
All right, if you've been enjoying this episode so far, the chances are really big you're gonna like this next thing. And no, it's not your classical ad. Quddus and I thought about what we can do to give you even more value. And what we came down to is that Quddus wants to give you 20% off everything that he has to offer. So that includes the shared journey that I experienced, that I talk about in the intro shortly. That was just amazing. It really gave me insight into what is in the depth of my soul, what is the thing that I really want to push forward. It made my connection with my partner closer, and it just gave me more clarity in where I want to go in life. But it doesn't just include this communal journey, it's also private sessions and even the Sound Sanctuary Academy that Quddus organizes a couple of times a year, where you can actually learn to become a sound facilitator yourself. So that's 20% off for all his offerings. You simply go to soundsanctuary.org, you'll find the link in the description, and you use code SPIRIT20 for 20% off everything. I'm really excited about this because it has given me so much, and I really want to give you the opportunity to enjoy it as well at a discounted rate. So that's code SPIRIT20 for 20% off. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
Has as you're becoming more, living more from integrity and I'd say maybe closer to who you truly are, at least are you now. And I'm not saying you were out of integrity before, but as you described, like that the attunement has definitely changed. Has your idea or view of what success means changed as well?
Yeah, definitely. Feels like being able to be with my bonus daughter and enjoy time with her and my partner, Dolores May, is success. And whatever happens outside of our house is a bonus. Whatever helps facilitate those moments is success. Things that pull my focus from that, not so great. Yeah, it feels like I've really simplified things for myself, because I realized the place where I can make the biggest difference is at home. And I used to bop around town to all the parties and all the sexy red carpet events and have those conversations where it was very debatable at the end of the day what kind of impact was had. But when I see how my presence can translate with Joya May, this wonderful bonus daughter of mine, and it's a bonus daughter because his stepdaughter feels kind of funny too. Spiritually speaking, she is my daughter. That's how I want to actually talk about it. But it is an interesting dynamic. And that really feels like success when I can be present with my family at home. That is my new definition of success. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
And also what you touched on quickly was and anything else that contributes to that. Mm-hmm. So what I read there as well is you're not just going from the perspective of your deathbed on the broader spectrum or broader sense, but also more let's say day to day or on a smaller time scale, what I'm doing actually contributing to that?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, because how I think about it is it's like in concentric circles. If you imagine a Venn diagram, and there is the I, of course, in the middle, then the we, and then the all. So we're inclusive of the we, which is family, immediate community, and then the all, the collective. And so ultimately, if I am not at home actually contributing to the people that are primary in my life, and I think I'm doing more by contributing to the we and the all, the community at large, the world, because I've been there too. I've been out touring all over the world. Meanwhile, I haven't talked to Joya May or Dolores May all day, and that doesn't feel great. That doesn't feel like it makes sense to me anymore. So I do think about the most core part of success being that primary circle, starting with me, making sure I'm feeling whole, complete relationship, present with myself, and then of course the people immediately around me, and then I can actually have more to give to the community at large. But the order of things that matters. We talked about order in Egypt, and so that for me was important to name in that way with the period on it, not like also going out and impacting the world, ... I think that's a given. I think that at this point, I can safely say that is a part of my DNA. I don't necessarily feel the need to name it too much. So it felt good to just put a period on it. Yeah, because it's new ground for me, actually, to be the family man and have that be enough. And yeah, of course, it's great to spread sound and train practitioners and make sure that people really understand the power of sound meditation, all those things. Definitely. But for some reason that felt secondary.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. It touches my heart.
Oh, it's helpful to be in this, because I think it's a discovery process. Anytime you're actually present in a conversation,
of course,
someone asks you a meaningful question, and to really consider, okay, what's emerging though? What's really emerging is actually, this family man, and how my definition of success has actually shifted just recently. So it's not like I've been sitting in this for a long time, but I'm realizing how sweet it is to see these smiles around my house when I'm just present. It doesn't actually require so much to contribute to someone else. It's just to be a witness and to celebrate and to be loving. It's really beautiful. Definitely never thought I'd see the day when I was running the streets of New York City, and I was such a chronic bachelor, just dating, and commitment was definitely elusive. To feel super committed and devoted, definitely whole another level of success.
Beautiful. Yeah. Are there any practices or things that you do on a day-to-day basis that bring you more into that presence and help you focus on what's important?
Definitely. I meditate to start every day. I actually meditate 6:13 every morning. That's a wink to my hometown area code back in Canada. And so 6:13 in the morning, sit down, meditate for 22 minutes, which is a wink to a very specific occurrence in my life that had the number 22. So for me, it's also important to weave in these particular time codes that do weave parts of my life into every moment. It's this kind of idea and this shamanic lineage that I was trained in of being in right relationship. And so I do think about that holistically, and I think about how we can create these rituals, and everything matters, everything does create meaning, so sitting down at that time for that amount of time in the meditation practice that brought me into the appreciation of sound meditation, which is Vedic. So sitting down, tuning into my mantra, going back to that in the practice, it really is a tuning fork and helps me to reset and to feel that harmony within myself. And there's something to be said about that traditional meditation practice, even as I'm this advocate for sound meditation being an evolution in a sense from what the Vedics figured out, that a sound is very helpful for us at a very profound level. That Vedic really was onto something, all the way back, that, having a mantra like that could be incredibly supportive. So that feels like the spine of my day. I start, sitting in that spine, tuning into that mantra, and definitely puts everything into perspective. Has me in my center, and I can navigate anything after that. Gives me capacity. That's how I feel about it. It really fills my own cup. I can remember every morning what I can feel like, and it's not a distant memory. And I don't settle for my triggered self or dysregulation in any way, shape, or form, because this is a very short road back to remembering how I could feel. Oh, that's right. Let me take a deep breath, tune back into that muscle memory. Okay, let's proceed.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, I love that with the times. It feels like it's a constant remembering of those moments and of why you're doing this and why you're there.
Yeah. I definitely feel like having our why present is really helpful, because there is a cognitive dissonance that happens no matter how conscious we think we are. If we get pulled into something, it is obvious within the construct of our mind that we're not going to be able to hold, another distinction when we're so engrossed in another thought. And so it's very, very apparent to me how humble we all need to be in order to really stay diligent around the things that are the scaffolding of our best self, the things that we get to come back to again and again and again. There's this saying, if you think you're enlightened, go chop wood and carry water the next day. That's how I feel about it. Chop wood, carry water. Sit my ass down at 6:13 and meditate, non-negotiably. Otherwise, I am not going to be quite the same.
Yeah. What is it about sound meditation? We've touched on it here and there, but can you describe what it is and what it does for you on a deeper level?
Yeah. So obviously, if meditation, that single point of focus, whether it be a mantra-based practice like the Vedics, or Vipassana, which is focused on the sensations on the body, that single point of focus is incredibly helpful to practice. That allows us to then be super present with our partners and listening, super focused at work and productivity. So the single point of focus, the way of orienting to something as a meditation, super valuable. So sound has been something that we've explored as sound healing, as a sound bath, which obviously has benefits as well. So if we layer on meditating to sound, we become an active participant in the listening at a deeper level than if we were to orient to it as a bath, right? The way we are typically is in relationship to the languaging that we have around something. So if I come to the experience to meditate, I'm going to listen deeper. I'm going to get more, actually, because I'm attentive. I'm listening as a meditator, not as a passive participant, like a dental patient, just like
way more present. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're actually hearing more. You're hearing the low tone, the mid tone, the high tone. You're hearing the modulation of the sound waves, the timbre. There's more available actually in that level of listening. And so you can pick up on how a certain frequency is actually feeling in the body in a way that's distinct than if you were to just be passively listening, being healed or, bathing, right?
Right.
No knock against it. And I think sound meditation is inclusive of what we love about sound healing, because there are still healing properties happening within the practice. And you're also getting the opportunity to master your mind in the process, to focus, to actually bring your attention to something like that higher frequency that you get curious about. and how that is a reflection of something in you that you get to access more in your life. There's all sorts of levels available in that level of listening. And then the next conversation you have, you're able to hear more of the musicality of that person, you know, the different energetics going involved, the subtle energy body that is present, you know, for any given moment. Really important, because that's where so much of discernment actually lives, right? That's practically why I love this practice, because then I'm able to pick up on the energy that I feel when I think about this choice versus this choice, because I've practiced that. I've practiced focusing my attention in sound meditation, so I can pick up on, this is actually the thing that lights me up the most, not this over here. So that's how I've found it to be incredibly helpful.
Do you give people like a... Do you ask of them that they have an intention, a specific focus for themselves before they head into a session?
Yeah, I find setting an intention helpful. Definitely can be incredibly beneficial. Just setting coordinates when you go out to sea. You're more likely
Right.
to hit the island that you want to be. You know, so also nice to not be too attached to having that be the way that it goes. So I like to think of intention as, load up, like have the intention in your hands, but also keep your palms open so that other things can come in too. And it tends to be that setting an intention does create more value. And also it's amazing to experience the magic that can happen when we're open for something beyond that too.
Yeah. Makes me think of what we went to as a group in Egypt, going into the Great Pyramid, the King's Chamber, which is said to be the biggest sound resonance room in the world, I believe. Made of a very specific type of rock and a specific shape and size and all that. We've all had our different experiences there. I know you've had a pretty profound one. Are you willing to share it?
Sure. It's definitely something that I feel strongly about now, having processed it and felt the benefits of. We got to be in that space of so much history and so much potency over time that you can feel. And walking in the King's Chamber, I felt it right away. Right, it was this, and then to be guided the way we were guided by Matthias, and for him to tap into what he tapped into. And as I sat there, I was actually completely void of attachment about how I was going to go. I think I leveled my expectation actually and was just present. And so as I sat there and Matthias started to channel what he was channeling, started singing, as soon as he started singing, I actually noticed this was all happening within a second. So I was moved, literally. Spirit moved my chin up, spine up, as if the message was, hold your head higher, King. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Because I have had some shame lingering in my system up until this moment. And that moment cleared it in a way that was very profound and a felt thing. It was, when you run and you feel a certain vitality, the oxytocin, all the serotonin, all the, it's a felt thing, physical thing. That's how it felt. It was discernibly different for me on the other side. Coming out of the King's Chamber, I felt like I had been reborn and not had any of the shame in my system that had still been in there from childhood, as long as I can remember. I think I was born into a very stressful home, and Now looking back, I can actually really empathize deeply with my mother, who felt probably like she had made a wrong turn somewhere in the relationship with my father. She told me recently that after my brother was born, before I was born, she had been having thoughts of divorce already. And so I can think about the shame that she must have felt actually having another kid into that. And so epigenetically, right, if we think about epigenetics, what we know now, that was being sewn into my being. And so popping out into the world, then being in a home where Catholic guilt was very present, other things happened, but that was my foundation. My foundation was shame. This idea that, the Catholics sew into the world that we're all born broken, the original sin, right? Mm-hmm. Listen, I love a lot of things about religion. I think it's important to have something to devote oneself to that forces a better person to be present. I think there's a lot of value in that because we can be very distracted and it can be very destructive as well. And definitely was in my system up until this moment in the King's Chamber. And it was totally cleared. So I will be eternally grateful for that moment. And I hope, everybody does get to experience something like that, whether they go to the King's Chamber or not. I think it's possible to experience something like that if we are listening deeply enough. There are moments every day that can clear energy. And we're the conductor, ultimately. That's the thing. Like, it just happened to be that we had the conditions created within the King's Chamber, what we were perceiving, right? We wanted transformation. We were eager, actually. Yeah. And then Matthias facilitating that. And I think each of us has an opportunity today to create a King's Chamber wherever we are,
Yeah. And I believe also what you said, like that you also let go of you're okay for anything to happen. I feel like that's the paradox or like the balance, right? It's like, yes, I have an intention, but if you're too focused, if you're too forced in a sense, then you're actually withholding yourself from the natural flow. And it might actually not happen, right? Yeah, so it's exactly. Like you do the intention and then you let go, but you stay present.
That's it. Because if we're too attached and we're focused on it looking and feeling this way, it's trying to come in over here. We're going to miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is where sound meditation is so powerful, because if we're able to really listen, we have a level of presence where the portal appears. We're present. How many times have we been on a date with someone and maybe we're thinking about our ex and that's layering on what we can actually perceive in this moment, and we miss it. We miss who this person is because we're still thinking about someone else, or,
or we like the idea of someone or of a certain situation. And we're like, oh, this is going to be great because blah, blah, blah. And then actually you disconnect yourself from the present moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's one of the relationships we were talking about before getting on camera, is this relationship I had been in where totally was in the story of it. It was incredible. The story was incredible. The idea was incredible. The actual lived reality day to day did not feel like my truth. And I finally got to realizing that because of the sound that, really reminded me of the fullness. That's the whole tone, the overtone effect of these instruments like the gong, where, you actually hear how life can be. We need these reference points sometimes to remember. Otherwise we can settle.
Yeah.
I get excited about this stuff.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. You talked about like being raised in a Catholic family household. You said spirit held my chin up, or like something happened there. So there's a change in naming things. Like I suppose your name with the divine has changed. Your relationship with the divine has changed over time. How do you look at that now? Like, what is your relationship with the divine?
Well, it's definitely without so many middlemen. And it is in every moment. That's how I look at it. Everything is sacred, actually. And it used to be that it was relegated to going to church or praying these very specific nodes throughout the day that were seemingly more divine than others, but actually I do find the divine in talking to people, driving sometimes, and just seeing the sunshine a certain way, breathing, feeling life force energy coming through. It shows up in all sorts of different ways. So for me, the divine is all encompassing, whereas it used to be quite compartmentalized. Yeah, I find even just being and just having the awareness of being alive is divine. Like we get to live in these skin suits and actually do just about whatever we want. I mean, I know a lot of us sometimes feel disempowered by our circumstances, that we're relegated to a certain box. But the truth is that we can break out of that box actually anytime. And that is the most divine, actually, is being able to see our box, see my box, and choose something beyond it. That to me is the most exciting thing on the planet. So there's a spectrum in divinity. I do think the awareness of oneself as the creator of our reality is the highest level of divinity. You know, the authorship that's available to everybody.
How, in your experience, has it been that, or is it now? Like, what in your experience are the best tools to really connect to that creator energy, in a sense, to really bring back forth your best self?
Well, being very aware of our belief system and being able to discern properly what beliefs to invest in. That's foundational. It almost seems so common sense, but what I see time and time again is someone's success, someone's external output, creativity is in direct relationship to what they believe about themselves. So we were talking about Kanye earlier, and what I saw in him was someone who believed in himself completely. And not just in himself, but in the medium that he was investing in. And so he was a student of hip hop. He believed in that medium to the point where, you know, he worked it. And so his belief was apparent as soon as he asked me to get on MTV. There wasn't any part of him that was hesitating. You could tell. So from a practical perspective, to be able to walk into your day, into your next conversation, meeting, session with that belief informs how you play the drum, how you speak to someone. It is a frequency, you know? Because if you have doubt, that's going to be conveyed. And you're going to be less successful as a result.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest tool, is make sure you are in full belief that you are actually on your path and you're meant to do what you're doing. And it's also important to know that doubt is a part of the game. Like we do have a doubting mind that is going to be in the car, and ideally it's on mute.
Yeah, but you're likely not going to come at a point where the doubt's never going to be there anymore.
Yeah.
And
And
it's just
so,
about dealing with it.
Totally.
Yeah.
So knowing full well we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So being humble in that and expecting those moments that will feel disappointing or doubtful, and knowing that if you've loaded up with enough belief, you can withstand anything, any kind of challenges along the way, because within the context of this inevitability, this destiny you're living into, because I do believe we each have a destiny. And over time, it becomes more and more clear. The more and more people I work with, the more and more I map a pain to purpose journey, whether it's my own or others, there is a divine design going on. And of course, there's choice within that. You can choose how you orient to it, whether you actually surrender to it, whether you enjoy the ride. But I'm pretty sure each of us has something to live into. So really understanding how that's working in your life is super key.
You quickly touched on Kanye, and of course we'll talk mainly about life and about sound, and you've also had a whole different chapter before that working with Kanye actually as well, and some other artists, being in the studios with them. I really like to pick your brains a little bit because I love this whole creative, being creative and like just how we tapping into something that is us, but it's also coming from somewhere else. It feels like where it's something that moves through us. And I feel like it's such an important part of being human. Yet there's some individuals that have at least seem to be able to tap into that in a better way, or in a more immersive way than others. You've been along some of those individuals that, can be considered some of the most successful creatives on the planet. What makes them successful in the way that they are?
There are definitely some things that I've noticed show up with every artist that I feel like is broken through, and one of them is definitely a level of devotion. So Kanye, for example, super, super devotional to the craft, to staying as long as needs to be in the studio in order to make it work. And that can piss some people off that are his collaborators that promise their wife that they're going to be home for dinner. So sometimes that can be really challenging. But at the end of the day, that's what makes people really great, is being willing to go the extra mile and to get out of the way. That's the other thing, to really get out of the way, because we are ideally listening to something way beyond our own identity, our own construct, when we can actually tap into more of a collective consciousness, like what the collective is actually asking for, then we become a conduit for what's actually wanted and needed versus what we need to validate ourselves, Yeah.
But is that's it's on a different level than thinking your way towards what would people like, right? Because like I've also there's this famous quote of Rick Rubin where he says like, where he's asked like, how much do you take the audience into consideration? He says not at all, because it actually destroys the originality. So I believe like that's a different thing, right? It's it's more of you're opening yourself up to what wants to be created instead of thinking your way to what would work the best for the most amount of people.
I think that's a great distinction. I think that's important. So what I'm saying with the collective, I think is more of an energy actually, and allowing for permission actually to feel what we're feeling individually. So being emboldened, being empowered by the knowing that it is worth sharing, is supported by the listening of the collective. But you're right. I think Rick Rubin's spot on that first and foremost, it needs to come from, what do I need before I start thinking about the world? Because what's happening in the individual is likely happening in the collective. That's for sure.
Yeah.
There's so many creatives who have a healing experience because they're willing to be vulnerable inside of their relationship with their partner, what they're going through. You know, Adele singing her songs, the way she sings them, knowing that that whole first album that she broke through with was about an actual relationship makes so much sense to me. That was what she needed to process the relationship. And no wonder she sings like that. So it's an example of where, yeah, if we can actually tend to our own process through our creativity, we'll be achieving the healing that we need and tapping into something that's probably going to be deeply relatable for someone else as well. So it's really vulnerable process, actually. I remember recently talking to Ryex, who's a friend of mine, really talented creative. And, you know, he was describing whenever he gets on stage and does what he does so beautifully, that it is such a raw and vulnerable feeling to sing the way he sings, you know, to hit those corners of his experience again by singing a song that may have been about an ex again is vulnerable. He taps into that energy again. And so the willingness to be that in order for other people to process what they're navigating, it's a real beautiful thing. It's a real noble thing to be an artist.
He was, I think, the first artist that made me cry at a live performance. Yeah.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Love his work.
Ryex is definitely a singular talent. Super proud of him. I mean, we were talking about his main breakthrough creatively happened when he was going by Rye Cumming before. That's when we met back in Hollywood. He was doing the Hotel Cafe for 40 people, just him and his guitar. And then he actually stepped back from that cycle that he was in as a singer-songwriter doing his thing in Hollywood to go to Bali. And so he really removed himself from the environment that I think had become a little bit of a habituation. And in that separation, he found his sound. And I think that's also something that I notice really works for that next level of creativity, is going inward and retreating from all the other ways of expressing to really tune into like, what is it that's mine to give and mine alone to give.
100%. I just, what is it, 4 days ago, came out of a 6-day darkness retreat, which is absolutely no input except just whatever arose from my own body and mind, right? So, and I had so many like just bursts of creativity and ideas and so much stuff that was lingering somewhere in my system or was like waiting to be transmitted, but I was too busy, or, you know, before doing other stuff, where it took a while, you know, for me to be just so present for such an amount of time. And then there's so much that comes in just by removing yourself from your normal surroundings.
Yeah, well, that's why ultimately I feel like sound meditation or other types of meditation is also really important for the creative, to be able to pull back the arrow, to be able to really see the whole game. You got to step back from the game. If you're in the day-to-day, it's tough to really see the whole picture. So that's the way I look at it too. I think Zach Bush talked about what consciousness is, and his perspective is really like this aperture, this idea of, you know, changing, you know, the exposure of the lens of the camera and just to see more of it. It's like, and I love this idea that the camera can't film itself. So we need to actually get to a level of objectivity about our lives to really understand what comes next. Otherwise we might fall into some pattern.
Yeah. And you need space to be able to open up the aperture more.
That's it.
Because there's a reason it's closed for, I believe, like, because we have this, because there's a limited amount of input we can handle. And if we're in a surrounding where there's a lot of stuff happening, then automatically our aperture closes a bit, right?
Totally.
But then you're literally not open to anything in the periphery and outside of that. So you need to remove yourself from the stimulus to be able to open and actually hold that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Check it out, and really check it out from that seat of your soul, and then feel that gnosis about it. Feel that activation of, you know, the heart and the soul and the yes, your yes, not, you know, your mom's yes, your best friend's yes, but ultimately that deeper knowing can click in when we have that moment with ourselves about it, because we've got to be a fan of it first and foremost for it to really work. Otherwise, we end up playing a bit of that puppet on a string game.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe self-belief is super important. Like you said with Kanye, like he's just obsessed that he knows what he's capable of, and he won't stop before it's actually turned into something physical.
Totally. Yeah. And I feel like, you know, naming him especially, I do think Matthias touched on this in Egypt as well, that there is a function for the ego. Like, you've got to actually, on some level, come to terms with how awesome you are.
Yeah.
As a creative. You got to say, like, Rye, at the end of the day, that guy's got to think, I'm pretty awesome. Otherwise, how are you going to get on stage and sing like that? I mean, it's either you think you're awesome or you're channeling something, right?
But you still got to be pretty decent at what you're doing to be able to channel that, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
There's got to be a bit of belief. And I think that's where ultimately the working on the craft, the devotion to the craft does bring a certain confidence. So it's not necessarily arrogance. It's actually based in craftsmanship, right? When you work on something long enough, you look at it, you can objectively say, this is great. And it's not necessarily about you being so great. It's that you were devoted enough. You were focused enough. You made the space to have the clarity about the vision, and you were willing to devote yourself and point in that direction long enough to craft the thing. That's usually how it works. It's actually not rocket science. It's really just a byproduct of having a clear vision and walking the path and staying the course.
Yeah, just like, for example, I don't know the numbers exactly, but like Michael Jordan said to have, you know, done like 1 million throws or whatever, like where most people would maybe stop at 50,000 because it's not good enough.
Yep.
It's about like, hey, you keep going.
Yep. That's it. Actually, I just heard a quote from the trainer who worked with Jordan and Kobe Bryant. And yeah, he said that those two guys locked in like no other players he'd ever seen. And no wonder they became what they became. So it's just getting to that level. You gotta have that belief that there is nothing else on the planet that you are meant to do. Because then you do get to that level of obsession, shameless obsession, that will spend those extra hours in the gym, that will be in the edit for longer than other filmmakers, that will stay in the studio and listen to that beat again. You know, I mean, I could think about, for me as a sound practitioner, there was a moment at the beginning of sound school that made it clear that this was actually what I was meant to do with my life. And that gnosis, that ability to hear that and recognize that within the seat of my soul, made all the difference in the world, because then I just locked in. I went on tour within a year of graduating sound school, and that tour changed my entire life. I wouldn't have gone on tour had it not been for that seed, that ability to decipher and discern that actually there's nothing else I should devote my time to. So of course I'm going to go and do that and facilitate as much as humanly possible.
Yeah. How important do you think it is to be able to embrace failure?
It's crucial. It's crucial, because the truth is nothing is promised. And when we put something out there, it's possibly going to fail. It is. And so, you know, the risk is something we need to understand can eventuate into a reward. And, you know, the path is definitely always worth it when you're actually pursuing something that you love inherently. So if you just run that cost benefit analysis in your head that the alternative would be to shrink from the thing in order to do something safer, but then you know that that's actually the thing you're really passionate about. What's worse, dealing with regret or failing? But at least you failed at the thing you love. So at least you got to experience yourself being the thing and being courageous and being bold.
And then what is failing actually? Because it's probably, in my view, it's only failing if you actually give up at that point. But if you use it as fuel to build the next thing, it's totally fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So ultimately, the greatest failure is not going for the thing you really want.
How does it feel for you to now fully be in that?
Feels great. Feels really great. Yeah, I really love Sound Sanctuary and the Academy, and I get a lot of fulfillment from mentoring other practitioners now, and it's definitely no other thing I'd rather be doing. So makes me sleep really well at night. That's for damn sure. It's rest my head, not thinking about the thing I should have done.
Right.
I spent a lot of time in that space before, and it's miserable. I'd struggled with insomnia before, and now I sleep like a baby. So it feels good.
Peaceful and grateful. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, and I had a friend of mine recently remind me of, the journey, and from the beginning of my process leaving the entertainment business to where I am now, facilitating with Aya, has been a 14-year process. So I look at this 14 years of training essentially to get to the ultimate expression of my Dharma, and all the valleys that I felt like I was walking through, the confusion, the chaos, all of it makes so much sense now. It's like I needed to experience that because of where I am now. And if you'd have told me 14 years ago that this is what I'd be doing, it would not have computed at all. So everything needed to add up in the way that it did. And
it's often only in hindsight that we can put the puzzle pieces together, right?
It. Yeah. Steve Jobs said that, right? I think, he said, like, it really is only in retrospect where you can see the divine design of it. You can see the beauty of it. I think I just came to that realization that literally everything that happened, even my divorce, all those sleepless nights, everything was absolutely perfect. But it's, definitely a process.
Yeah, and it doesn't always feel like that when you're in it.
Definitely not. Not. Sometimes it feels like the opposite of divine. Yeah. It feels like God left the building. Like, God? Oh my God. Yeah, but it's why these practices matter. This is it. This is exactly it. Because we all forget. And then if we slow down, we get still, come back to home base in the heart, then it all makes sense.
What's question that you haven't been asked yet, but you'd like to answer?
What question? Maybe something along the lines of, what does it actually feel like to play the gong?
Well, please indulge.
Well, so what I love about the gong is, in my experience, you can never actually get the gong to do the exact same thing twice. For any given time I've played now my 3 gongs, each time I need to listen so deeply and ride those waves. And so there's a level of presence, of humility, of curiosity that it requires that is singular. Out of all the instruments that I play, I played 24 instruments in sound ceremony. So this drum, I can replicate a sound, no problem. The gong, where you at tonight? So it really is beautiful in that way, because I do love the element of risk involved for any given stroke, to not know exactly how it's going to go, to be able to course correct, work with it, dance with it. It's a really fun dance partner. It definitely keeps me present.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose that translate into being able to be more present in daily life as well.
Definitely. And also the nature of the gong is that it is something that can go into dissonance just as quickly as it can go into resonance. And so this really does give a microcosm of what life is. You can have this incredible breakfast with your beloved and then walk out to your car and see that the car has been smashed in, That is how life can go. And so how do we dance with it all? That for me is why the gong is such a beautiful experience to play. Is it does give me that muscle for dissonance, resonance, tension, release, life.
Talking about tension, what's like a tension that you've been able to let go of recently?
I love that question. It's so live for me. The tension of really owning what I am. And so over the years, people have referred to me as a shaman, and that has always been deeply uncomfortable for me. And so I've identified more as an artist, as a creative, as a facilitator, actually. And I still do. And now when people refer to me as a shaman, I don't have tension around it, because if that's what I am for you and it served you to think of me as that, great. Then I have no issue with it. It served. It can still be loaded for me individually, but I am going to get out of the way in this moment to let you have that perception if it serves.
Right.
Yeah.
Why is it something that you struggled with? Is it because you're not from the Amazon and all that?
Yeah, exactly. People have a very deep misunderstanding of what the shamanic path actually is. And so I'm a former MTV host who grew up in Canada. It's not the typical background of a shamanic practitioner, and I am aware of that dissonance in people's perception of what it takes to be a shamanic practitioner. And it's a big part of why I was so underground with this work for so long, and I didn't refer to myself, and I still don't refer to myself as that, really. So at the end of the day, most labels fall short. We're so multidimensional. All of us are so multidimensional. And so for anyone to have a finite description and understanding of anything leaves a lot on the table.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for me, it's been such a dance, because it's what I do on a daily basis for people. I work with the shamanic arts. I facilitate transformational experiences with sound and psychedelics. I've been doing this for years. And I'm also someone who likes to be silly as hell.
Yeah.
And I also have a lot of different flaws. And I like to eat what I like to eat. And
yeah, you're also just human.
Abs-freaking-lutely.
Yeah.
So But I've been around enough shamans from the jungle to know that they are too.
Of course. Of course. Yeah. Is that what you think is like the misconception that you touched on? Is like that if you're a shaman or if you're a shamanic practitioner, then you're in a sense almost like divine or something. You're like you're perfect. You don't curse. You don't fart. I don't know, all that stuff. Like,
yeah. Well, there is a certain pressure,
right,
that is placed on people who facilitate this work that is absolutely unique and different from if I was an accountant. So, and that's a pressure that I'm finding more grace in holding, giving myself grace, and also really understanding the process more from the perspective of really serving a function within a way bigger orchestration that is way bigger than me. I am a part. I show up. I play these instruments. I facilitate. And that's it. Everything else is the participant also bringing themselves, co-creating the experience, the divine coming in, doing what the divine does. So we each get to play our part. And no part is more special than the other. We're all important at the table. There's not this hierarchy, actually. So I look at it like we are co-facilitating your transformation. That's why sound meditation also, because if you're meditating, you got to give yourself credit. You listened, you heard it. You picked up what I was putting down. Not everybody does. Some people are sitting there getting bathed.
Right.
And they miss the thing that actually might be the most important thing. They miss that note that could have woken up the lion in them to roar again. But they might have been a little bit lazy. That's the thing. We live in a culture where a lot of us are lazy. We want to be transformed. We want to be hit with a magic wand. We want to take a pill. It doesn't work like that. And so, sound meditation may be a little bit harder to market because people want to be healed and people want to bathe. But I do see time and time again, people get more from the sound when they meditate to it.
Yeah. And it's okay that not everyone's attracted to, let's say, the hard work.
Totally. Yeah. And it's not necessarily hard.
Right.
It's just switching a switch. It's really choosing, right? Because once you choose and you're in the choice and you've decided and you know that's a path that's beneficial, I actually think it's harder to not be at 100% in your effort towards something because we know when we're fucking being lazy, and we know that is not going to result in what we want. It's going to reinforce a shame spiral that we're subconsciously playing out.
And you're going to continuously, if you're at, say, let's not 95%, 5% of the time you're going to be out of alignment, and you continuously have to put yourself back into alignment. You continue to have to go back into your belief system and all this, instead of you're here and you're fucking here and you're doing it. And there's nothing that can stop you. There's no one that can convince you otherwise.
That's it.
It's maybe not a comfortable place to be always, but in a sense it is. It's a very clear direction, and it really enforces your being in that direction.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. It puts you in the driver's seat, which is equal parts, oh snap, like no one's coming to save me. And also really empowering. Oh, I can save myself. Cool. The best thing any practitioner who was a part of my falling in love with this practice ever said to me was that just remember, you are your greatest healer. Because I was definitely looking at the instruments, looking at him, his partner, and saying, oh my God, hit me with the magic wand. I really need to be healed up in here, Yeah. And he said that, and it was so helpful. And when push came to shove, I was in the journey and I was listening from that place and I was putting it together. you know, the alchemy was occurring within me because I was uniquely aware of what I needed. We are each so uniquely aware of what we need, unless and until we defer to someone else to be our healer. And as we outsource our power, we're too busy looking externally to go within and actually click it in for ourselves. It's amazing how it can happen. And we are so conditioned. We are so conditioned in our culture to look outside of ourselves.
Of course. In many different ways, yeah. In religion, in government, in celebrities, all this stuff.
Yeah. And it's points of inspiration that can be out there, and it's great. Yeah, but at the end of the day, we each have everything we need inside. Convinced about that.
Is there like you shared so many, but I'm curious, like, is there like a life lesson that you'd like to share about? Or someone that's inspired you, perhaps? I don't know.
Well, I'm definitely inspired by Joseph Campbell's work and the biggest conclusion that he came to, which was to follow our bliss. I do actually feel like if we can just allow our joy to be a compass, we will ultimately land where we're meant to. I do not believe that life is meant to be endured and that we are meant to suffer through life. I do believe that each of our birthright is to live in joy. And so to the degree that we can attune to what we get most joy out of, we can live out our destiny.
Yeah, it's something that I've recently been, there's something has shifted as well when it comes to exactly this, where I realized for a really long time already, like what really lights me up and what is really a part of my being is this just joy for life and joy to create. And then there is like all this conditioning and other old beliefs and stuff that sometimes seep in where it's like, yeah, but that doesn't earn a living. Or that's not, whatever. That's not like real, or it's not something like that. Like some limiting belief. And then at some point you realize like, well, let's give it a try. Let's see if I can actually not just change those beliefs within myself, but also just change my reality and my future.
It's worth a try.
Stepping into the joy. Yeah.
It's definitely worth a try. Because the truth is there's nothing that's altogether secure in this particular climate. You can be the CEO of a Forbes 500 company and think you got security, and then your rug gets pulled out from under you. So might as well go and do what you love. It's worth it.
Is there a challenge or a fear that you haven't redeemed yet?
Man, you're dropping these bombs. Well, one of the challenges that I've been grappling with is capturing what we do in the Sound Sanctuary experience in ceremonies, recording it, and actually putting it out for people to be able to listen to in a more accessible way. Because I do really see how it's not the most accessible offering. People would need to come to Amsterdam and spend quite a bit of money to experience this. And I do think now technology with spatial audio might be able to do justice to some of the tones that are coming out of the gong and singing bowls. So the challenge is to capture what we do and put it out there in a way that everyone around the world can listen to. So it's definitely the next thing that I'm going to explore, and we'll see.
Awesome. Be cool. Yeah, man. Yeah, it feels like we're slowly coming to a close. Before I ask you a final question, like definitely everything that you're doing, all the your online presence and all that. We'll link all the links in the show note. We also want to ask you, like, is there anything in particular? We've talked a lot about Sound Sanctuary. Anything in particular that's coming up that you want people to know or you want to share about more?
I am working on a book, and the desire for the book is to share about this journey in a way that can really be a roadmap for anyone who is stepping into their calling, to understand what that path has entailed for me in such a way where they could potentially get benefited as well. So I can actually look back at my journey and I can see step by step now, looking back, what each threshold required.
Yeah.
And I really want to transmit that to other people because it can be really challenging. And I don't want people to lose as much sleep as I've lost.
Right. Yeah, man. That's amazing. How's it going, the writing?
It's good. It's really been a very nourishing experience, actually. So when I can sit down and write, I do get into that flow state and everything blurs into the background and time doesn't exist. I'm crafting, I'm just working with these words and attempting to have them convey that which ultimately can never really convey. That's the thing about language. It can do some justice, but I'm enjoying the process. I'm enjoying the effort. And yeah, I think I'm OCD, and I fucking love things that just allow me to be OCD. Like I can give myself permission to be OCD writing. That's a socially acceptable way to be OCD. Right. Oh, you're still working on that chapter? It's okay. That's what writers do. Yeah. Right? Any other world, any other place in society, they'd be like, you should move on. If you're writing a book, take your time.
Yeah.
Take your time.
Yeah, people have taken 20 years to write a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when it finally comes out, oh, great. I'm so glad you took 20 years. So
it's similar to what we talked about when it comes to going into the studio, right? And listening to that song again.
Yeah.
To change maybe the one detail that makes it not just great, but brilliant.
It makes a difference. Let me tell you something. I just listened to a song last night. Beautiful song. The way it ended ruined it for me. You ever had sex with someone and the sex was great and then one thing ruined it? It's like that. And I was like, oh man, they should have taken a little bit more time with it. So yeah, going the extra mile. I really loved that song until the end. It was like this very unceremonious ending. Like they just kind of like sloppily did the fade out.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, what? You just brought me to like the most heavenly place and then
back to the dirt.
Oh my God. I'm very hard to please though when it comes to music and sound, as you can imagine.
What's one of your favorite songs?
Woo. I love Imagine by John Lennon. Imagine all the people. Oh, it's so good. Because I do believe imagination is the bridge to a better world. You know, we get to imagine it before we can create it. I do think it's the thing that gives me the most hope when I can hear someone articulate a vision for a better world. You know, Martin Luther King did it in his best speeches, right? And then we could actually see it in our mind's eye. And that's then the North Star. It can give us something, the spark, you know, because it does take effort to like bring a whole new reality into being. And songs like Imagine by John Lennon really create that optimistic seed. So I love that song. There's so many others too. could listen to a lot of 90s hip hop too.
Yeah.
Tribe Called Quest, Electric Relaxation. I like 'em brown, yellow, Puerto Rican, and Haitian. Name is Fife Dog from the Zulu Nation. I have a very broad range of songs that I like.
It's beautiful, right? There's so many layers that come through music.
Mm-hmm.
There's personality, there's culture, there's like beliefs, there's like a lot of like societal layers, but then there's also just the music and the brilliance of the specific artist playing specific instruments.
That's the thing that I've found with this medium. It's infinite. You can spend your entire life exploring sound and how these different instruments can interact. And I work with 24 instruments, but I know there's 24 more instruments that I'm going to acquire over the next 24 years, and so many more different soundscapes that'll come from that. It's this infinite game. I love it. It's so lovely to find a medium that actually can satiate this like insatiable desire to explore sound.
What is it like when you have you have 24 instruments and you're not using all of them every ceremony? I can imagine it's more like an intuitive thing, right? Like what is one of your favorites, or maybe a combination of them? I don't know.
I love the gong. I do think that ultimately, I know that the gong is the thing that set me free. There was a moment, that journey when I was struggling with deciding on divorce, where the gong cleared all this energy that had been blocking, that had been stuck in my system. And then in that clearing, all this clarity came in. This was such a powerful transmission. It hit the reset button. Like, I was able to really release so much. And so for me, the gong has got that place in my heart. I noticed that the mind has no defense for the gong. Right. It's that primal thing that cuts through all the noise and hits the engine room, and it makes everything else fall into its proper place. And then we can remember the immensity of life itself through the sound from the gong. I can deal with cleaning the dishes tomorrow. I can deal with whatever, actually, because that's actually what life is made of. That's actually the kind of energy that we can deploy. But we need to be reminded, so that gong, every time, it reminds me, okay, that's the fire in the belly I can bring to working out again.
Quddus, thanks so much for being here, man, and sharing all that you have to share.
Pleasure. Real pleasure. Really great.
As a let's say parting message to the viewers, is there any last message that you'd like to whisper into their ears?
Follow your bliss. Joe Campbell had some really wise things to say. Joe Camp. Follow your bliss. Yeah. We only have this one life that we know of. Don't live with any regret. Squeeze the juice out of this thing, because we do not know what happens after. That's it.
Amazing, man. Follow your bliss, everyone. All the links will be in the description. Please subscribe, like, comment, share, whatever feels good to your heart. It helps us tremendously in growing the show and reaching more people. I'm so grateful you get to share this journey with us, and see you again next week. Thank you.